connect. I'm just gonna start this show as though it were the beginning. So I apologize for inconveniencing you. We're gonna go a little bit longer as a result. Um, let's see now. I look like I'm connecting, and it looks like it's still recording. That's odd. So I'll simply say that I launched the show with 283 downloads on Web Talk Radio a little over a year ago. And now we're very regularly in the area of 5,000 downloads a week. Does it make it a top 10 show? No. But clearly, it's a show that's found an audience for itself. And I'm hoping that by the end of next year, we'll have doubled that number as well. We've got commercial sponsors. I've had great guests on all year long. And I thought I would look at the show and some of the things my guests have said with an eye toward providing you with a top 10 list. So excuse me if I don't do the David Letterman production values of the drum roll, but I can pretend as though I'm doing. Okay, got the drum roll. So to preface this, I want to start by saying that, as I said in one of my LinkedIn, one of my job search insider tips on one of the shows, the next recession is on the way. Whether you think about it going forward for the future, or you're in the trenches now for a job search, you need to do things to prepare yourself for the next recession. And there are things that you can be doing now as part of this job search, where you develop habits that will help you land the job now and position yourself for finding work for many years to come. Now, I'm not saying you should become a job hopper, changing jobs every 6 months. No way, shape, or form am I suggesting that. But there are things you can be doing in order to ensure that at the end of the day, firms are finding you, recruiters are finding you, that you're perceived as a subject matter expert. So let's go through the top 10 list. I'm going to start with number 10 and work my way down to number 1. So the number 10 item, and excuse me, I've got notes here. I'm going to try and stick them up, but they slide down. Number 10, figure out what makes your soul feel alive. Now, you may think that you may be a relatively literal thinker and don't think in terms of your soul. But how about this one? Think about the things that you're passionate about, that really give you joy in what you do, and that you find are tremendous, that really light you up. Maggie Mistel did a show with me about that. So if you go back and listen to that podcast of Job Search Radio. And by the way, let me just backtrack. If you go into iTunes, there are two iterations of Job Search Radio. One has a picture of two guys on it. One has a picture of on it. I was pointing to myself there. So look for the single picture for that Job Search Radio. And if you want to learn more about what Maggie was suggesting, look for the episode that Soul Search Research with Maggie Mistel. Start off by trying to figure out what gives you excitement, what you feel passionate about. Number 9, use social media, particularly LinkedIn, to brand yourself as an expert and get yourself found. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that LinkedIn is the place in 2014 and probably will be so throughout all of 2015 and for some time beyond that, where people can be recruited, found, can position themselves as an expert. You can do that a host of different ways. They include your profile, of course, and creating a keyword-rich profile. You want to include in the summary area your email address and phone number to make it easy for people to reach you. In the line underneath your name, you want to have a useful description of yourself that fits into that lettering. You want to join as many as 50 groups so that this way it's easier for you to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Now, although there's debates about whether or not to accept connection requests from people that you don't know, for those of you who are thinking ahead or are in the midst of a job search, by accepting connection requests from people that you don't know particularly well or don't know at all, you get to expand your network and can reach out to people that you want to connect with that much more readily. So, think in terms of making lots of connection requests. So that's number 9. Number 8, companies are starting to use video as part of their interviewing. Start practicing in front of a camera. Now, when all is said and done, you may not have video interviews happen a lot in this search or at all. But I assure you that from some of the technology I've seen out there, video is going to be part of the repertoire of more and more firms. Now, I'm not talking about a Skype session specifically, although Skype is certainly part of the repertoire of lots of organizations. I'm talking about the initial interview where you're submitting a resume and you're not even talking to someone. Part of the application process is going to be you in front of a camera answering certain pre-canned questions as part of what they look for. So start practicing in front of a camera with someone asking you all the basic questions so you start getting familiar with what it's like to be an actor or actress in front of a camera. So that's number 8. Number 7, don't neglect job boards, but don't overuse them either. Now, I readily admit that I did this on one of the shows on Job Search Radio, that I use job boards as part of what I do. However, I don't use them exclusively. I use lots of different medium in order to connect with people and have them get to know me and to find them, et cetera, et cetera. Mistake people make with their job search way too often is they spend 70% of their time on job boards and 20% networking and 10% with miscellaneous. Instead, the statistics say that job boards only fill about 5% of all positions. Recruiters fill 5% of all positions. Now, I just want to say that some of these numbers are questionable to me. I'll just simply increase both numbers dramatically. Let's say job boards and recruiters fill 30% of all positions. Instead, networking fills 70% of all positions. That networking can be in person, it can be through LinkedIn, etc. And a statistic that Dave Altman from Execunet quoted on the interview I did with him is one that says 70% of the 70% are filled by people who the individual didn't know at the beginning of the job search. That is, they got a recommendation from someone they didn't know at all when they started this. So you have to get out and about and talking to people. And by the way, there's statistical reasons for this. I heard an interesting commentary about it where the people that you know closely, you and they travel in similar circles, you know a lot of the same people, they're of limited help to you. However, the ones that you're meeting who become weak connections, weak ties, travel in different circles, thus can provide introductions to people who don't really know you or you them. So you have to get out and about and connecting with people that you don't know in order to find work. So number 6, develop a resume that is visually appealing, that uses metrics to stand out. And one corollary to that is if you're an executive, you have to be careful with some of the metrics that you quote in case they're not publicly known. So again, imagine you work for a big company and there's information that you have access to that if you reveal, I don't want to say violates confidentiality, but may not be publicly known as of yet. You don't want to be revealing anything prematurely. As for metrics, metrics are a measure of your success. If you talk about what you've done and how you went about doing it, without contextualizing it by talking about the impact of what you've done in numerical terms, you're not really giving people a sense of what you've accomplished. So always use metrics, but if you're an executive, be careful with the metrics that you give in terms of dollars saved or dollars generated as a result of your effort if it's not appropriate for you to be revealing them. Number 5, become a sleuth to find the hiring manager and avoid the ATS. So my belief is you try to avoid applicant tracking systems. What you want to be, I doubled up on numbers there. Sorry, I'm wrong there. So avoid the applicant tracking system wherever possible. What you want to be doing is getting directly to the hiring manager. And the way to find out who that is through either a referral through your LinkedIn connections or through a friend or colleague or through networking into the organization. But you don't want to come in through the applicant tracking system wherever possible. Why? Real simple. You're not in front of the decision maker. You're in front of a filter, a screen. And if you kind of think about what a screen does by thinking about the Wild West and the Gold Rush days, panhandlers sat at the river with a screen that kind of filtered out the garbage. And the result wound up being the gold stayed on top, the sediment went down below, and you don't want to be mistakenly caught up with the sediment, especially by someone who may not recognize gold from garbage. So by getting directly to the hiring manager, who may direct you back to the applicant tracking system, but you've at least gotten in front of the hiring manager. So get to the hiring manager because they actually make the decision. They actually do the evaluation. Often the person who reviews what's in the coming in through the applicant tracking system is the least experienced person, thus the least competent, no disrespect intended, individual in HR who's there evaluating you and doesn't care as much as you do or the hiring manager does. They're overworked, burdened, new, afraid of making a mistake. So get directly to the hiring manager when you evaluate. Here's another one. You can negotiate job offers once made. So this was a great interview that was done with Alex Freund as part of one of the shows we did. And he basically said almost anything in a job offer can be negotiated. Now, they may not be willing to do it, but if the numbers are not quite right, or you're trying to improve it, there are lots of primary and secondary things that you can negotiate in order to improve the offer. That's a good show to listen to. That's Alex, Freund. So listen to that episode. I think you'll find it interesting. Let's see now, where's number 3? I know it's around here somewhere. I don't know where number 3 is. Oh, my numbering is off. Well, let's just skip ahead. Here we go. Don't neglect Facebook, Twitter, and Google when looking for the hidden job market. So, did a great interview with Shally Steckerl, who talked about finding job leads. And yes, we covered LinkedIn on that show, but he talked about using Facebook. And some of my other guests talked about using Twitter as part of the networking process in order to find hiring managers and gain entree into an organization. Shally spoke about using Facebook in particular. I thought it was a great interview. And he talked about a lot of other techniques for finding the hidden job market. So Shally is his first name. I'm sure you'll find it. So again, a great lesson. Next, this is number 2. Practice, practice, practice. If you're interviewing, whether by video or in person, it's important to practice answers to predictable questions that are going to be asked on the interview. Don't sell yourself short and don't assume that you're going to be able to interview well just because you know the subject. And have someone ask you questions, jot them down, get into a conversation with you, watch your body language, watch your energy levels, check for passion, see whether your answers are cogent or not, and give you constructive feedback. I don't care if it's a wife, husband, partner, friend, colleague, whoever. mentor, former colleague, whomever. Ideally, someone who knows your profession, who can ask follow-up questions to really dig in deeply and see if they can make you sweat bullets. But get someone that you practice with, a practice buddy, as you will. Lastly, number one, and this is one from Rod Cologne. I've been talking the same way for years, but Rod coalesced it into a wonderful thing. So this is the number one tip from Job Search Radio. You are the CEO of your career. You're in charge of it. As I used to say, I'm the head of the Altman organization. I'm the chief operating officer, the CEO, and I've got a board of directors that consists of my family. If I abdicate responsibility of the Altman organization to an employer or a client, I'm selling myself and my board of directors and stockholders short. I put myself and my career and this entire enterprise at risk. So many people learn the hard way that if they trust Big Mommy or Big Daddy corporation that they work for with their careers, as soon as things get tough, they're out of a job and they're up creek without a paddle. Don't put your career in the hands of an employer who doesn't care as much as you do. You're responsible. You figure out the way the market's going. You figure out the skills that are necessary. You take charge. So those are my top 10 tips for 2014 from Job Search Radio. I hope you listen to some of these podcasts. You can find them on webtalkradio.net if you want to listen to them on the web, or you can go to iTunes. Like I said, in iTunes, look for Job Search Radio, single image, instead of the picture of two guys, just a picture of one guy. I hope you found this show helpful. If you did, I also want to encourage you, come over to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us, and go exploring. Because I've got a ton of great content that you can watch, listen to, or read that'll help you find work more quickly. You can search positions I'm recruiting for, post your resume to a lot of sites from mine, find out about my coaching services, download copies of my books and guides to job search and pay what you want for them. A lot of great stuff at thebiggamehunter.us. So come over to the website and go exploring. A few final things. First of all, if your current firm is trying to hire someone, send me an email at the address below. Let me know who to contact and whether I should mention your name. I'd love to help your firm staff positions. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request at linkedin.com/IN/the-big-game-hunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you're a third-party recruiter or in a country known for scams or spam. Finally, you may not be ready for this yet, but file it away for when you are. You're going to get to a point where you're going to enter into a salary negotiation, and you have next to no experience doing it, and I have tons. Hire me for a 15 to 30-minute consultation from my website. Be happy to get you prepared for the negotiation that you're going to be doing. I don't care if you have a recruiter representing you. The recruiter isn't going to be representing you all that effectively because they're trying to close the deal, and that means pushing you into what the client wants. So contact me through my website, which again is thebiggamehunter.us. I'd be happy to get you prepared. It's very inexpensive by comparison to what you're going to gain in the way of an increased offer as a result of the time you spend with me. So this is Jeff Altman. This is my last episode for 2014. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day. Take care.